What's good on YouTube? Time for another recap, another all-time high squeeze at the end here as the NQ is catching up to the QQQ for those all-time highs as we get a little bit of lag in between. If you go to the daily chart there, you can see those Qs pushing into 517.15 at that close today, and then NQ not quite there yet, 21.340.75, right? So pushing into that all-time high Q squeeze at the end here, chasing down the QQQ all-time high as the Qs closes. And the futures are open for a tiny little bit yet. Nice impulse move. So let's go over today. Today had some pretty good chop in the market overall. We actually left a couple very important key indicators for us here on the 1 minute gaps, 514.61, 514.86. We will come back down and we will see those once the short starts. Those are going to be acceptable targets, man. Those are going to be awesome targets. So let's get into today. So on the minute chart, when we get a ton of chop here, I tend to default and go back to my extensions on the VWAP, right? You hear me talk a lot about the VWAP extensions where I'll find the +2, -2, and from the regular standard old VWAP here. And to make it a little bit easier, we can turn those studies down here that are in the back, right? So we'll close off the moving averages here and just leave that VWAP. So you guys can see it real easy. So always the VWAP here, this is standard for us here, +2, -2 from the VWAP. Center is obviously 0. It's the regular old VWAP, +2, -2, right? And a lot of the time when you see unfortunate chop, like real low volume, nasty chop, big washout like that, I'll just use the extensions, right? Every time we get pretty close to an extension, I'll assume that we have some scalps to be had. So initially, we talked about in the last YouTube video, the volume weighted average price for yesterday, and all of those moving averages never tagged, right? So if we go back into the VWAP here, you go real close as we did yesterday, and you can see the VWAP here never tagged yesterday. So the whole trade plan for out of the gate for me today was whatever end of the price action, doesn't matter where it is, wherever it comes up, it rather opens up above the VWAP or below the VWAP. If the price action is way high, I'm going to look for it to come down into the VWAP. If the price action is really low, I'm going to make it sure it comes up to the VWAP, because yesterday we did not get a tag. There is no tag on that volume weighted average price. So I knew we had a high percentage chance coming into the open today here where the price action would magnet right to the VWAP. So our first big opening morning trade for a 3K was just that. It was out of the gate. I bought two separate sequences here at the pre-market low, right? And I ran it up to the VWAP, and it ended up recovering VWAP, holding, and then moving into the +2, right? So if you're real patient and only use that VWAP +2, -2, and that's the deviation away from, you have some pretty awesome moves. And we call those first tags, right? And the first tag is when price action is coming from the under, the first tag of the VWAP is coming from under price action into VWAP hit. So the resistance in the VWAP in this scenario, because price action is pushing into the VWAP, right? So that long was pretty decent. Now for the day, it mounted that VWAP, and once it started holding VWAP, you had a good chance to go to the +2. Then you start looking at a short, because that is just too much on the extension for the volume weighted price. So it comes back down to that center VWAP, chops around, gets picked up, another squeeze right to the +2. Really big extension there. Actually, this one was actually super clean. So this short right here, even though it pressed past the +2, because we had really deep consolidation there, a lot of back and forth on the minute chart, but notice that the RSI wasn't quite hot yet. And MACD wasn't fully prepared to roll yet either. It got a lot of indecision there. So we had this aggressive impulse outside of that +2 VWAP range, and then came back down. But if you would have played, into the indicators here, we're waiting for something to get hot like there and showing you a micro lower high in the MACD. There's a really good chance that +2 comes back down to the regular old VWAP, right? And later on in the day, it just ended up riding the VWAP here and pushing into the +2 yet again. And a lot of the times, the first time or next time, rather, if it comes down into the VWAP and it starts an uptrend, you can generally get pretty close to that +2 every single time and at least catch some scalps, as you see here. It's a good indicator to help you out with range chop. Now, what I would do, I would use a really old school system that I like to use here today on chop days where we got all-time highs, because we don't have a whole lot going on. We have yesterday's candle, we have yesterday's close, yesterday's highs, yesterday's half candle retrace. We just don't have a whole lot of data up here. We don't have historic support resistance. We don't have any weekly fibs or daily fibs to use besides yesterday's, and that's it. So a lot of the time, pre-market high-low will give you really solid over-unders and really solid volume zones. So if I were to go out here and mark at pre-market high for today and mark at pre-market low for today and look to yesterday, it will show me the only support. It's not historic, right? It's only yesterday. So it'll show me some really interesting points for support and really interesting points for resistance, right? Almost a high a day and a beautiful higher low of that yesterday on that force up day. So you come into that pre-market here because, we don't have a whole lot of data up here. And what I would do is I would take that Fibonacci and I would just run that pre-market high-low because we love those Fibonacci's here. And I would watch for the VWAP along with the golden pocket recovery here. Now, again, it's choppy. So the personality of the QQQ and NQ, it's very common for the candle and price action kind of slip past something where, ES might be formulating some support. It'll come and hit a price action level really good, and you won't get too much slippage past that level. It's the complete opposite for QQQ. So it's a good personality to trade. There's wild whipsaws, but you need to understand the sizing here between NQ and QQQ compared to ES and SPY. You got to slim it down a little bit. You cannot be heavy trading the QQQ and NQ compared to that ES and SPY. So we came into some slippery business here. We pushed up in from the pre-market low because that was the open, and we longed it into the VWAP. We shied pre-market high, and you hear me say shies all the time on this channel, and I'm really big on first tag metrics. So first tag of the pre-market low like we got at open and first tag of the pre-market high are very high valuable plays, okay? And when we push something up into the pre-market high or very close to and shy it like it did, there's a very good chance that it will come back. So it pushes down, finds a fresh low, snaps in and above the pre-market high. And then, of course, you could just use your regular VWAP along with the golden pocket here of the pre-market high-low Fibonacci. And that would have set you up with at least a decent little tell. If we stretch the time frame to the 15-minute, get a little larger candles here, it worked out a lot cleaner as far as the MACD and RSI. So we always have a 15-minute up for overall general trend as well. And if you did pre-market high-low here, you did get a really good support push, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then consolidation to push. And you can see that kind of recovery of the RSI channels where it needed some work to do, where we were down in the bottom of the channel. You can see over here, my fat head's kind of in the way there for RSI, but we're in the bottom channel there. And we just peaked to that top channel, and the RSI needed to get into that 50. Support, which is halfway through RSI because the market loves 50 percenters, and the MACD as well. So the MACD kind of came in through, and then from 11:30-12, you had some really good sentiment for continuation back up. Even though we had this nice high push there, we're holding the golden pocket, and that's at 514.79. We had that tag right here. So also just that beautiful higher low sequence, right? Flagged up, and then each one kind of produced another viable move. So the 15-minute would have helped out big time here. So other than that, I want to talk about the volatility index real quick and how to do what we do. Two different things here. Again, just oscillation indicators real quick. We had a nice little pushback out. We had a couple of gaps to fill up towards 1375. We have a few more to fill up at 1394, 1384. So when the weakness comes, we will have really good targets to magnet for the volatility index. But just to keep you guys keen on indicators, notice we're under the zero line here on that MACD where the moving averages are below us here, and sentiment would stay lower even on pops. RSI, same thing. We have spent a majority and most of the day here on the lower side, so that trend for lower high, lower lows, and the trend for the market, obviously inverse the VIX, is going to be predominantly clean. Okay, to take it back to our yesterday's YouTube video as well, we had talked about needing back test of the 100 EMA, 200 SMA, and VWAP. So if I throw those back on here in the 5-minute chart, this was the second part of that magnet that we were talking about in the morning, where the 100 EMA, again, if you look on yesterday, that green 100 EMA was just, the smelly kid at school, man. Nobody wanted to go anywhere near that. So 100 EMA just way outside range. We didn't even come close to it. Didn't come close to the VWAP, like you said, either. So price action according for the next following day, we're going to look for the price action, whatever side it's on. If we're under the 100 EMA, we're going to look for a magnet to the 100 EMA. If we would have started up here in price action, I would have looked for a dip into the 100 EMA as well for that long. So those magnets, those first tag algos that they watch a lot, are a very beautiful thing to help identify trend. So if you want to come with us and trade this stuff, navigate these choppy markets live, we do it every morning, 8 a.m. till about 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Central. And if there's data, if there's anything else big, we usually come back for the day or at least update chat. Link is in the description. If you want to support the channel a different way, we're going to have links for Top Step here very shortly, as we're going to get on the funded account affiliate program for them. So stay tuned for that if you're a Top Step trader, and we'll see you in chat if that sounds good. If not, we'll see you on the next video. You guys take care.